Hi, this is Jatin Dhiman. Welcome to Index Theory's post-market report. Financials and IT steady the advance. Stay focused. Let's begin. Nifty 50 closed at 25,694, up 0.11%, while Bank Nifty stood at 60,095, rising 0.86% and leading as the outperformer. VYX stayed at 11 with no change, keeping the pulse complacent and controlled. Even with indices in the green, market breadth was weak and participation remained narrow. Advances were 44 versus 56 declines, pointing to a rally driven by rotation into heavyweights rather than broad based strength. Nifty Bank clearly led the move, closing at 60,095 with a jump of 515 points, up 0.86%. Sensex was moderate at 83,570, adding 188 points, or 0.23%. Nifty 50 lagged at 25,694, up just 29 points, or 0.11%. Bank Nifty did the heavy lifting, while Nifty 50 struggled to gain meaningful traction due to drags from pharma and energy. Capital is rotating toward leaders, with IT standing out at plus 3.34%, followed by PSU banks at plus 1.16% and realty at plus 0.35%. Laggards remain in the sell zone, led by pharma at 1.28% and energy at 0.80%. Metal, auto, and FMCG are also weaker at 0.53%, 0.45%, and 0.22%. Traders dumped defensive pharma positions to chase momentum in IT after earnings news. Infosys Q3 results were released, and the company raised its FY26 constant currency revenue growth guidance. The market took this as a reset in near-term demand sentiment, leading to a sector-wide re-rating across IT. Infosys was the top gainer at 1,690, up 6%, while LTIM rose 5% to 6,308, and Techem gained 5% to 1,970 on a sympathy rally. Wipro added 3% to 210 on high volume, showing broad-based buying across large cap and second-tier IT. Strong Q3 numbers and fresh 52-week highs increased risk appetite across private and PSU banks. This strength kept Bank Nifty buoyant at plus 0.6%, even as the headline Nifty 50 faced resistance. Federal Bank and SBI moved to new 52-week highs. PNB was at 132, up by 3%. Nifty 50 managed only a 0.11% rise, as pharma and energy heavyweights offset the gains in IT and banks. Eternal was the session's top loser, down 4%. Cipla slipped 3% and led the pharma sell-off, while Geofin and Hinzinc also fell 3% each. Overall, pharma was the biggest statistical drag on the index at 1.28%. Nifty 50 closed at 25,694, staying above the pivot level of 25,687.10, keeping the price setup constructive for the next session. At the same time, indicators are flashing caution. RSI 14 is at 10, marked extremely weak and oversold. MACD readings are negative at 142, 83, and 58, pointing to bearish momentum, and Supertrend 10,3 remains bearish at 26,244. Bank Nifty closed at 60,095, staying well above the pivot level of 59,567. RSI 14 is at 70, indicating strong strength. In contrast to Nifty's 10, the Supertrend 10,3 remains bullish at 58,416, while MACD at 92, 75, and 17 suggests bearish momentum is narrowing. Overall, financials are technically superior to the broader market right now. For Nifty 50, key intraday levels are pivot at 25,687.10, with resistance at 25,770.25 and 25,74.90, and support at 25,582.45 and 25,499.30. For Nifty Bank, the pivot is 59,567 with R1 at 59,880 and R2 at 60,39.45, while S1 is 50,35 and S2 is 59,094.55. For Sensex, pivot stands at 83,459.30 with R1 at 83,033.39 and S1 at 83,108.62. For Nifty, if price holds the pivot at 25,687.10, the focus shifts to R1 at 25,770.25. If price breaks the pivot, keep an eye on S1 at 25,582.45. For Bank Nifty, holding above the 59,587 pivot points to R1 at 59,880, while a pivot break brings S1 at 59,037.35 into view. A rally needs confirmation only if breadth improves with advances at least 60 and pharma turns green. Market tone stays constructive, but it remains fragile because participation is narrow. Focus on trading key levels rather than assumptions. Stay mindful of divergence and give it due respect while taking decisions. End of report. Dated January 16th, 2026. Like, subscribe, and share your view in the comments. Hit the bell for updates. Comment below. Will the rally get confirmation only if advances reach at least 60 and Pharma turns green?